Let's give it up for Kirsty Webeck.
Hello! Hello, besties. My name is Kirsty and I'm here to tell you about the worst people in the world, first aid certificate holders. Now please give me a woo if you've got a first aid certificate. That's too many. Let me backpedal. I think it's very noble to want to learn some first aid skills to help somebody out before a medical professional arrives on the scene. However, in my experience, every first aid certificate holder I've ever met has done a 3-hour course online, and now they carry a scalpel and they're a little bit too thirsty for an accident. Now, I'm in an indoor soccer team. I have to be. It's part of the lesbian licensing agreement. I've got no time for it, but I am bound. We have to maintain membership in at least one mixed indoor sporting team, otherwise the council will come around and deliver us a Tarago, a Labrador and a husband. It's brutal out there. So I'm in this indoor soccer team. We were playing a game recently and our goalie went to save the goal, which was great, huge part of his job description. And the goal kicker went in for another go at the ball, right, and he accidentally kneed our goalie in the eyebrow, dropped him. Now, we all went running over to suss things out to see how he was doing. Now, I don't have a first aid certificate. I'm also not a medical professional, but I had a look at all of the blood on his face and I thought, I'm pretty sure all of that is meant to be under the skin. Now, my partner's on the team as well, that's part of the agreement too, and she was on the sidelines at the time and she's actually a nurse, so I was like, I think we need to get her over here, and I don't know if you know this about medical professionals, but if they have clocked off, they will be the last one on the scene. They're hanging back waiting to see if there's a first aid certificate holder around who'd like to take charge of the situation. So I've called out to my partner, I'm like, we need you over here. She comes over, she starts helping out our goalkeeper, right? And she's cleaning him up, and in the interim, the first aid certificate holder from the stadium wanders over. He's got the sense of urgency of a sloth who's been pulling bongs all afternoon. He has a look down at our goalie and he goes, oh no. And then he has a look at my partner and I saw his eyes narrow and I was like, I know what's happening here. He is fuming. He's done his 25-minute course and now is his opportunity to shine, and he wants to know what this person is doing here, cutting his grass. So I go to him, she's a nurse. And he goes, oh, she's a nurse? And I go, yeah, she's a nurse. And he goes, oh. Absolutely ropeable, right? And somebody goes, do you reckon you could get a first aid kit? And he goes, yep. And off he goes, so slowly. He's gone forever. He's gone for like 12 to 14 months. In the interim, my partner's totally cleaned up our goalie. She's gotten him a jelly cup and an egg sandwich, called his next of kin. She's removed his appendix. There was nothing wrong with it, but you never know when they're going to turn. Also, not strictly within her jurisdiction as a nurse, but there's no time like the present to upskill, is there? So the first aid certificate holder gets back. He puts down the first aid kit. The first thing he says is, you're a nurse? Like, again. I'm like, yeah, mate, why are you heckling her? Yeah, she's a nurse. We know you were gone for ages, but she wasn't deregistered in the interim. In fact, she was able to do her professional development. She's a senior nurse now. So he's put the first aid kit down, and then he was quite tall, right? My partner's squatting down at the time, helping the goalie out. And he bent at the waist and he sort of bummed her out of the way. He just backed into her like a truck, like beep, beep, beep. And she was scuttling along the ground like a crab, like trying to get out of his way. And then once she was out of the equation, he took out a roll of fluoro-orange elastoplast and he started frantically wrapping it around and around and around our goalie's head. Like, we were all standing there like this. He stopped when the roll stopped. There was a point where I was like, should I tell him that he hasn't passed away? Like, he's preparing him for the tomb. You've got to leave him a breathing hole, mate. He's going to die under there. Anyway, he had a concussion. So my partner was like, he's got to go to the hospital. Following day, he updates the group chat and he goes, just letting you know, they glued up my eyebrow, it was great. And then he goes, I had a bit of a concussion, so they kept me in for a few hours. But the really difficult bit was getting all that tape off. And like the ED nurse had to peel him like a confused orange. It would have taken her 45 minutes, like just around and around and around. He's got a bald spot now. He also had these long sideburns and they're both half gone. And I'm like, what was the tape doing down there for an eyebrow injury? Worst bit though is that the first aid officer actually taped up his ears as well. So he went to the hospital during a pandemic and couldn't wear a mask because it had nothing to hold on to. So he also got COVID. No, he didn't. It couldn't get in. It couldn't get in. You've been a delight. I've been Kirsty Webeck. Thank you so much.